like this. And then we're all going to lean forward.
So I read this book recently.
When did you read it?
Just today.
Oh.
Ow. Have you read this book before?
Yeah, but not the whole thing.
You're scratching my knee. Squishing. It sees the whole couch. The only issue is this.
Kelly wrote notes.
Well, because I wasn't gonna remember anything. I didn't wrote notes on all of it.
You didn't wrote notes?
I didn't wrote notes.
Okay, so this month we read Bedtime Adventures for Grown-Ups by Anna McNuff. So our genre for our diversity reading challenge was short stories. So that's what I picked. And before you guys get a chance to say you didn't like it, I did like it. So I feel like this book was what I wanted out of the memoir that we read.
Which one? We read two.
The one that was actually the memoir.
Oh.
Mindy
Kaling.
Kaling. Because I like how she told the story, and then at the end there was always a little blurb that made it make sense. So all of these stories are adventures where she failed at doing the adventure. And then,
there was the one where she won third place.
Yeah, but she messed up so bad by not bringing food for her on the first 10 miles of the trip, and how she felt like she was just going to give up. She just wanted to give up. She had let everybody down, and then she didn't, and she still won third place, and it was really successful. But I even took pictures because it was at the end of the first one, it was this was the one where she went running with her boyfriend. I don't remember how she wrapped the one up. I remember the second one. The second one is this the one where she went
rollerblading?
Oh yeah. Yeah, she went rollerblading with her friend. And then at the end, she was talking about how they did this thing, and the job still they didn't care that she broke her hand, she still got to do her job. And it says, all in all, our rollerblading adventure was a complete disaster, but only in the sense that it ended up vastly different from what we had planned. And I'm grateful for that, because in all the time we spend making plans, we never stop to question whether things are going as expected is actually what matters. And I just all of her little chapters had little things, and I liked it. And then I liked the very last lights out section where she just encourages you to go out on your own adventures. I liked it.
Why did you not? I didn't hate it. I just, and I liked the things at the ends, but I was in the middle of the stories, I was thinking, how is this going to just wrap up?
Yeah, I don't think I hated the book. I wouldn't say that. It wasn't the Night Circus. I would say it didn't grab me. Mm-hmm. I felt like I was pushing through just to, and a lot of the times, especially since I was trying to read and listen at the same time because I read it yesterday, it was hard to I don't know. Usually I'm used to when I read an audiobook, I can, it tracks better. It tracks easier. If I'm not thoroughly present the whole time, when my brain turns back on, I'm back in the middle of the story and I'd be oh, that happened. But these, I think, were so short that I didn't have the opportunity to do that. But also, okay, so I did write notes. Jill pointed out before we started that I wrote notes. Because I knew I wasn't going to remember what any of these stories are about, because that's just my brain and how it works. It doesn't actually retain anything that's not important to me. So the first one I said, so far these stories are only semi-interesting. The author had a Bridget Jones Diary kind of way about her, but I don't know if that's normal British humor or the author's own specific humor or her accent or just me. I'd give this story a 2 or 3 out of 5. And so I started like rating them. I didn't actually get through all of them that way. I think my most favorite one was the Roland Z Dam. The one, anyways, she rollerbladed through the Netherlands with her friend. That one was actually entertaining. Like, it was funny. Like, her friend, her rollerblades weren't working and she fell flat on her face, and then she
broke her wrist.
She broke her wrist, but she was like,
no, I'm fine.
It's fine. And she had like elephant wrist, and like that was actually funny. That I think is the only one that I can think of that actually like had my interest. The rest of them I was just kind of like, okay, one story. I'll do one story. And then my brain needed a break. So I think that because she talks about how this whole thing started, this whole bedtime stories for grown-ups thing started because she was writing these stories and then like telling them on social media or something during the pandemic.
So it says that she started like a weekly thing on social media, and then these were the best stories that were shared over like the year and a half that she was doing these like weekly adventure nights.
Yeah. And I think that it would probably be more interesting if I had been part of that community.
Mm-hmm.
Like if this was part of something that I had experienced, even if it was like vicariously through somebody else I had experienced it, and I actually like knew the person through the internet even, I feel like it would have been more entertaining. But to me, Anna McNuff at that point was a random person who wrote a book, and I was supposed to be interested in things that I wasn't interested in. Why did you hate the book, Miranda?
I already said, I just couldn't get through the stories. I think this would be like a good book it would be a good car book. Like, you just need to read something. You just need to distract yourself for a few minutes. So you like pull this out of the side of your car door and read one story.
Oh, like, and you're just like waiting for something?
Yeah.
I think you guys skipped a story. You didn't read all the stories, right? Maybe a Welsh surprise. Did you guys read that one about the Michelin star
we did,
restaurant?
Yeah.
We all listened to that together in the car.
Oh.
Maybe it was, did we read the Snow-Tipped Silence?
I didn't read that one.
It was a Canada thing.
Oh, that was one that she went on. I don't remember if it was exactly called a tour, but like her friend was going to like a lot of places to like present through Canada, and she went along with him. I don't remember if he was an author or something. It was something work related that he was doing through Canada, and she went along with him.
I mean, I'm impressed by this person.
She's very adventurous.
She is. She'll just like get up and go.
It also, every time she sleeps outside, it's always just her in a sleeping bag. I don't know if that has to do with like it's lighter to just pack a sleeping bag than like other things.
Yeah.
But like the one, so when she ended up at the Michelin star restaurant, she like rode her bike, just left her house in the afternoon after work, rode her bike up this mountain, slept in a sleeping bag at the top, rode it back down. And I'm like, I mean, they have small tents too, like one person tents. And then even the one where she did the weekly campouts through the outer skirts of London, nobody brought a tent. Everybody just like, I don't know if that's like a England thing, like a British thing. They just don't bring no tents. They're just like, I got my sleeping bag, I'll just sleep on the grass.
I don't know. They have, I mean,
if it rains, I wouldn't want to be sleeping out in the rain.
I know in Scotland they have like midges, like they come out in full force at some point in the year. Like, I don't think that I would want to just be in a sleeping bag with midges all over me when I wake up. So, I don't know.
That was something that I noticed, is that she was just like Yep. And they call it a bivy.
Mm-hmm.
I got my bivy
The sleeping
sleeping
bag?
bag,
That's what
yeah.
she calls it.
all the time.
She names all of her things, which is funny. Her bike's name is Pauline.
Her car? Well, didn't she have a name for her car?
Oh, I don't know her car's name. Her bike's name was Pauline, though, because when she called her friend, when she was like doing that, people would vote on what adventure she took.
Oh.
She was tired of walking. Like, she was just gonna walk all over.
Oh, yeah. And she asked her friend to go back and get her bike.
She called her friend and she's like, I need Pauline. Like, she didn't say, hey, can you grab my bike from my house?
Right, and her friend was just like, oh, and then the car when in this first story, we took turns pushing Caesar.
Oh, that was his his
stroller.
That was his running stroller.
Was Caesar. Yep.
Yeah, a lot of these stories to me felt like stories that were like inside jokes, like.
I mean, I definitely felt like the way she set up the Michelin star restaurant one was how she was like, yeah, I was just like, oh, it's a pub, and like it's the way I would tell like you a story where I'm like giving you all these details so that when I'm like, it was a Michelin star restaurant, then you're like, oh my gosh, like you really fumbled that one. Like I'm just setting it up to like really help you understand.
When it all could have just been I accidentally stumbled into a Michelin star restaurant while I was covered in mud.
Yeah, and I thought it was just like a hole in the wall pub.
And then I left.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah. The other thing that I don't know if this is just like some like a British thing. All of her adventures just seemingly have these like small little restaurants in the middle of nowhere. Like the mountain biking one where they took like 2 days to do this like mountain biking trip or whatever, and then halfway through like there's just a restaurant. Like, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe just because I'm used to people going on adventures in Alaska where like if you're going on like a 2 or 3 day adventure, like you're completely cut off from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Versus maybe like London or England is just not that spread out, that even if you're going on something for a couple days, like there's still people there.
Mm-hmm. Like you're just going from town to town, not like out into the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, but like if you were going to go mountain biking through Alaska for 2 days, like you're not just going to be like...
You have to pack your food.
Right, you're not just going to be like, oh yeah, we're going to stop at the restaurant that's halfway.
I mean, even just like right now, like there were still times where there were like 3 hours before we found the next place for food.
Yeah.
Like on our...
It's a lot more. So everyone, I don't follow him, but every once in a while on Instagram, there's that guy from the UK, and he's like, I love America.
Oh, yeah. Josh.
Is that his name? But he was saying that Americans get a bad rap and they get made fun of a lot by the people in the UK because we don't know the layout of how their cities are, and when it takes them 2 hours to get somewhere, like it seems like a big deal to them, and we're like 2 hours. I could be in a whole nother state in 2 hours. Like if I was not in Alaska. In Alaska it takes you a week to get to a whole nother state. But
he was saying the reverse of that. Like in Europe, Europe is 13 hours down and like halfway back or something like that.
Oh yeah.
So like to drive 15 minutes, that could be a long ways for them. Yeah. Whereas for us,
15 minutes is across town.
We're like 5 hours. Let's go.
Yeah. Because he has said before that there's people in London who are like, oh, I haven't seen my dad because he lives 30 minutes away. Like, so it's too far for us to go every week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Yeah.
Whereas like here, like if your dad lived 30 minutes away, you would see him at least every other day, probably.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, even, especially in Alaska, because the mountains hold back a lot of the weather, but I could drive 30 minutes from my house in any direction and be in an entirely different weather system. Like, I could leave my house and drive 30 minutes south and it's sunshine and rainbows, where at my house it was pouring rain.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, I was just thinking that because we are a lot more spread out than they are, especially in like Europe area, because I know like Australia is technically the UK too, so they're a lot more spread out there in Australia because they have all that space. But yeah, so our towns are a lot more spread apart, and there's not a whole lot in between them.
Yeah, and there's not just random bars and diners.
And if there are, they're like sketchy.
She must have been, I mean, she has several books, and I just find it interesting that like when did she do the weekly things? Oh, that was summer of 2014. So I mean, she was just able to she must have been like popular on social media, because even in 2014, social media was only like 5 years old.
Yeah.
Like 5-6 years old.
I wonder what she does for like a job.
She writes books.
Before that.
She has so many books.
Before that. In 2014, what was she doing for a job that allowed her to just drop what she was doing?
She was working a 9-to-5 and doing her best to stay sane in a world of concrete, corporations, noise, pollution, and people.
That actually doesn't answer my question.
While restocking a hideously depleted bank balance. That's what she was doing.
That actually doesn't answer.
She doesn't want you to know what she was doing. She just wants you to know that she hated it and it was a corporate job.
She's a lady of the night.
Well, it says she had spent much of the previous year, in 2013, pedaling a bike around the USA. And time at home.
How did she afford that?
Spent saving up for the next great escape.
Doing what? How does this woman make money? She's like flying all over the place with her bike and her rollerblades and her boyfriend, and I'm just wondering how she affords this.
She just doesn't afford anything else.
Well, she even stops and she says that she bought like a house, and she had to pause some of her adventures to go and work. I'm just wondering what that meant.
For a while. Oh, wait. Never mind. I thought I said working.
You're going to tell me she's working again.
I was going to say working at home, but it just says while walking home from work.
She was earning money. So, if anybody knows what Anna McNuff was doing in 2014, making money. I do like that you pointed out that like she has like a lesson or whatever.
Yeah, like there's a reason she picked each of these stories. I feel like more than just they were like the most on her social media. Like they all carry this theme of like things didn't go according to plan, but that doesn't mean that they weren't good.
There's this one thing I boxed in. It says it's only when things fall apart that you begin to see the true measure of a friend. After all, you'll find out whether they're the type of person who will insist on sleeping in the bushes with a broken hand because they don't want to let the side down, and whether they'll fashion you a sling from 80s leg warmer and pull up your trousers after you've had a wee. In short, instead of learning what a person can do, you learn who they are in the place of things always going to plan. Anyways, I thought that was cute.
But I also like the one where they were mountain biking together and she was like, we heard that some like really athletic people did this mountain biking trail, and what we interpreted that as was like some semi-fit girls could do it. And so they were just like, yeah, so we went and did it, and it wasn't successful, and that's okay. Like, they were just there kind of like living in the moment. And I don't know.
I don't think I would consider her semi-fit. She bikes and walks and
like
runs.
She's like, I'm going to rollerblade 100 miles.
If somebody tried to tell me that if you came up to me, you're like, hey, Kelly, I have this idea. We're going to rollerblade 100 miles. I'm going to be like, have fun with that. I'll meet you at the end.
I mean, it wasn't like 2 days later they were rollerblading. Like, they had planned it. And they were supposed to practice. Her friend didn't practice at all.
Her friend just grabbed some old skates that someone had when they were 12.
Right. The friend didn't practice at all. Anna said that she had practiced a few times. And also she did that race all the coast to coast in Australia where she ran like 10 miles up a mountain, or biked. She biked 10 miles up a mountain. Did some running.
Is that the one that they did third place?
Yeah, did some kayaking. I think some more running. But it was like 2 days of like torture, basically. Like, that's not something a semi-fit somebody who does like 30-minute cardio videos a couple times a week.
Yeah, right. Like, I think our definition of semi-fit is way different than hers.
She like went for, how many days did she run with her boyfriend? Like 10 days.
Yeah.
Or they just ran at night across the desert.
No, thank you.
I'm semi-fit.
Yeah. I mean, what's fit then? Like Olympics? Like, you're only fit if you're in the Olympics?
You're only fit if you were her boyfriend who actually ran the whole 6,000 miles.
With a bum knee.
Then you can call yourself fit. But no, I definitely, I don't know. I liked it. I like going on adventures, and so it was a little inspirational for me.
Okay, when you decide to go on one of these kinds of adventures, you let me know how that goes for you.
Okay, maybe when Raylan gets older. She'll be my adventure buddy.
I feel like sometimes I think of myself as an adventurous person, but between this book and our last book, I'm like, I would rather sit at home and read a book.
Wait, I don't remember what our last book was.
Love with a Chance of Drowning.
Oh, yeah. I would not do anything of this.
I don't know. I think that I'm usually up for most things, but not these kinds of things. I think I would like...
These are like very extreme things, I feel like.
Yeah. Like if somebody was like, hey, you want to go horseback riding? Yes, I do. Thanks. Hey, you want to go a hike on a mountain? Sure, if you bring a gun. Like, just for protection, just in case. I've encountered way too many bears. I'm not going to take the chance. I mean, so I don't know. But if you were like, hey, do you want to ride a bike and kayak and hike and run across an entire country of Australia, even Alaska, like if you were like, hey, you want to go do this across Alaska? I'd be like,
no.
I get tired.
I do want to one day run the Disney runs. That's on my bucket list.
Have fun.
That's a half marathon, isn't it?
They have a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, and a full marathon, I think.
Oh. And you want to do all of those?
No, I would just like to go and run something.
You just want to dress up in a tutu and run and get a medal at the end.
You get to go through the back stages of the park too. You get to see behind the scenes.
It's probably not as fancy.
But and then they also have like the characters.
It's like warehouses.
They have the characters like along the way that you get to like. You also have to be up
at like 4 a.m.
It's like when you drive behind the grocery store.
Well, okay, you put on a tutu and we'll stand in some costumes behind Fred Meyer and you can run by.
Who's gonna be the balloon lady behind me, making sure I keep pace?
Sure Mom. She'll just be in a go-kart.
No, I would just like to cross it off my list and say I did it. And then if you do the one if you do a half marathon in California and a half marathon in Florida in the same year, you get to say you did the cross country marathon.
You're going to run 13 and a half miles?
One day.
I can't even run 1 mile.
I believe in you, Jill. You can do it.
Have fun.
Thanks. Raylan will push me.
You
I'll
gotta
go on
train
hikes.
and then get some bionic knees. Probably 13 miles. This book.
It was a very short book.
Well, it is short stories.
Yes. It's only 150 pages. I think like the normal, like the total audio time just on one speed was like 3 hours. So it's an easy read.
What would you rate it?
What's our rating system again? Probably like a 3.5.
Wow.
I think I would give it a 2.
That's rude.
I think I would give it a 2, mostly because I was really like okay with not finishing it.
Let's see. Just a bad book. Maybe 1 or 2 things were nice, but not enough to make up for all the terrible things. That's what you have to say about it.
Okay, what's 3?
Don't regret reading the book, but won't be reading it again.
A 2.5.
Kelly's like, I regret.
3.5 is
I don't feel like it was a good use of my time.
a nice, simple book. Cute. Would recommend to someone looking for a lighter read. See, I said 3.5. That's what I would rate it.
I would probably put it at a 3.
It's because you're too nice.
I'm sorry.
You don't want Anna McNuff to accidentally stumble upon our
Don't
podcast.
sue us.
We're rating her book, not her as a person.
I have another short story book that I want to read, but I specifically want to like doodle on each of the pages with the short stories. Like make doodles that go along with the short stories.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the kind of book that you're supposed to do that with, or is it just an idea?
Probably not. Just a way that I think would be enjoyable to enjoy the book.
Okay.
What is that called?
The Book of More Delights. It's just like this guy for a year every day sat down and wrote like a short like essay about something that he finds enjoyable.
Just something random or something from that
Just
his
like-
day?
Just something that he thought of that day that he's like, I enjoy this.
Oh.
Essay. Well, I mean, short essays. They're like a page or 2 long. But
Interesting.
I never actually looked up what a short story means because I have short stories. They're considered modern fairy tales, and they're like 200 pages, but it's just a short story of a character. And that's it. The end.
I think this is my opinion. I think that I like reading fiction. I also think if I'm going to read nonfiction, I want to learn something from it. I'm not very interested in reading nonfiction that's actually like somebody's life.
Kelly says, I don't care about other people.
That's not what I said.
If I don't have a connection with you, I don't care about you.
Well, and I think it's the way you write it too. Like The Love with a Chance of Drowning was written like
A story.
a story. So it was like outlined everything the way a fiction story would have been outlined.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason that we knew it was an actual story is because she told us.
Yeah. It was also under the genre of literary nonfiction.
So literary fiction, literary nonfiction I can do. Or self-help. Otherwise, I don't think it's for me. I don't need to know.
You need a plot.
I don't need to know your innermost random thoughts.
She definitely had like when she was making sound effects, that was weird. She's like, and then my phone.
That was jarring. I'm like driving the car.
And then, what were the other, like...
I don't know. I feel like she made like a meow noise or something.
I don't think I could have listened to her audiobook as like a nighttime thing. Like trying to relax and go to sleep.
Yeah, she didn't read it like it was a nighttime book. And then there were parts where she would say OMG, like she was having she was redoing the conversations with her friends, retelling them, and she would just be like,
She would like
OMG. Like she was actually talking to somebody. Which maybe made it harder to like get into. I definitely think this is a book that does better just reading it. Versus...
Unless you want Bluey's mom to be reading you a book.
Well, and she has like these subtitles, and so like, where'd that page go? So like she'd be like just like reading you her book, and then she'd be like, the meltdown, and you know, and if you're just listening to it, you don't really get like, why did you randomly just say the meltdown?
If we ever do a short stories again, I want them to be fiction. Okay.
Okay.
All right. What are we doing for next month?
Next month is sci-fi. Okay. Next month is sci-fi. And I picked the book, I think it's pronounced Etherbound.
Sure.
By E.K. Johnston. And I've read E.K. Johnston before, but I read specifically a Padme, like Star Wars book from them, and this book is like their own story. So that'll be interesting. Anyways, it says, set on a family-run interstellar freighter called the Harland and a mysterious remote space station, E.K. Johnston's latest is a story of survival and self-determination. Pent Harland's family sees her as a waste of food on their long-haul space cruiser when her genes reveal an undesirable mutation. But if she plays her cards right, she might have a chance to do much more than survive. During a space station layover, Pent escapes and forms a lucky bond with the Brannock twins, the teenage heirs of the powerful family that owns the station. Against all odds, the trio hatches a long shot scheme to take over the station and thwart the destinies they never wished for.
No,
what was that heavy sigh? She already doesn't want to read it. Kelly already rates it 2 stars.
Let's try not to yawn.
Anyways, that's next month.
Very exciting.
August.
Yep.
Jane.
August. Okay, well.
Thanks for joining us.
A short episode for short stories.
Okay, bye.
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 Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in to this episode. Don't forget to subscribe and then follow us on whatever social media platform you use the most. The link for next month's book is going to be down in the description below, so grab your copy and then make sure to share all your thoughts with us.